So let's continue our lecture and let's talk about graphical methods. So remember that we talked about the measures of central tendency. We talked about the measures of spread or dispersion. So all of these come under the idea of summarization. So the next part is graphical methods which talks about data presentation. So how do you present the data? So in this section, so we'll see certain commonly used graphical methods for displaying data. Right? So the purpose of here is to use graphic displays to give a quick overall impression of the data. So which is generally sometimes not possible, sometimes difficult with numerical measures, because when you see numbers do not represent much, but converting numbers into a diagram can represent a lot more. So the four common ones that are used is, number one is a histogram, frequency polygon, stem leaf diagrams, and box whisker plots. So among them, the most commonly and widely used one is box whisker plots and histogram and frequency polygons. Stem leaf displays are not that common. So let's look at each one of them. So let's start with histogram. So a histogram is a special kind of a bar graph. So bar graphs are two types: bar diagrams and histograms. So histograms use quantitative data, meaning that we take data with numbers. Bar graphs use qualitative data, which means categories. So these are the two types. In a histogram, the value of the variable under consideration is generally represented by the horizontal axis. So while the vertical axis always represents the frequency of occurrence. So and we try to name each class interval on the horizontal axis as a rectangular bar. That's where the name histogram comes from. So that's where the name bar graph also comes from. The height of the bar here represents the frequency. So if you see a histogram, the bars generally must touch to indicate that there are no data in the data set that are missing from the histogram. So you cannot have a histogram that's far apart from one another. So all of them should touch one another, meaning it's a continuous diagram. So if you take the example that we discussed in the last lecture of the ordered array of ages of the subjects, so we classified them into the class limits and we noted down the frequency. So in a histogram, what we do is, in the y-axis you have the frequency, in the x-axis we name the age, and each class interval is represented by a rectangle, and the height of the rectangle is the frequency. So once we represent the height, that represents the frequency. So this is the example of a histogram. So this is how we generally draw a histogram. Now, next, let's take an extension of that histogram and let's talk about a frequency polygon. So polygon is basically a special kind of a line graph. So it's similar to the bar graph, but in a bar graph we draw rectangles to cover the entire area, but here we only draw lines. So to draw the frequency polygon, we generally place a dot above the midpoint of each class interval represented on the horizontal axis. So then connect the dots to find the total area. So for example, if you take the histogram, what we do here is we note down the midpoint on the top of the bars on each of them, and we connect the midpoints with the straight lines. So this represents the frequency polygon. So the area under the graph represents the total amount of the area under the graph here to be enclosed. So it should always be enclosed. It's always equal to the histogram. So whatever the area is under the graph should always be equal to the area under the histogram. So this is how we make sure that it stays the same. The next one is a stem and leaf display. So stem and leaf displays are generally used for representing quantitative data sets, not commonly qualitative. Remember quantitative and qualitative. Qualitative is categorical data, for example like gender or say for example marital status, where you cannot represent it numerically. Most commonly used for nominal data or nominal scale data. So stem leaf display specifically is used only for quantitative data, which is numerical data. So one way of representing any informative visual representation of data set is to generally construct a stem leaf display. So a stem leaf display bears a strong resemblance to the histogram. So we'll see how. So let's see how a general stem leaf display goes. Before that, let's talk about what is the advantage. The advantage is that it preserves the information contained in the individual measurements. It does not take the measurements out of the picture, it actually preserves the information. And another advantage of the stem leaf displays is the fact that they can be constructed during the tallying process. So if there is an immediate step of preparing an ordered array, is generally eliminated. So you don't even need to prepare an array because you can directly take the data as is and continue with drawing them. So how does a stem leaf display work? So in a stem leaf display, if you take, there are two parts, there is the stem and the leaf. So the branch, so think of it like a stem leaf display is you have a branch and the branch has a leaf. So this is what we are looking at. So the stem here represents a certain number and the leaf represents a certain number. For example, let's say I have data. So for example, let's say I have the data of the ordered subjects. In this, we notice that this is a data of tens, meaning that it's nothing is above 100. So what we do here is we take the tens digit and write it on the stem. And each observed value's ones digit is written on the leaf. So this is how we can separate the stem leaf part. So here we are writing the tens place. All the leaves represent the ones place. How do you read this data? We can read that 3, 0, 30, 3, 4, 34, 3, 5, 35, 3, 7, 37 this way. So the stem unit is 10 and the leaf unit is 1. And depending on how many the values are represented, this looks similar to this. If you take this entire diagram in a vertical direction, you'll notice that it's similar to that of a histogram. Notice that you can also make it into a histogram. So it's similar. So that's the reason why stem leaf displays are most commonly used. Because we use numbers, you don't need to write this array. You can write this directly down on a piece of paper. So this is the same thing with other data as well. For example, in this data of live-born infants, here we are taking the thousands place until the hundreds place, and we are only writing the last two digits in the second place. So notice that this also represents the same case. The difference between a stem leaf and the stem leaf display and a histogram is that stem leaf displays are generally discontinuous if there is extreme values. One good thing about stem leaf displays is that they can actually denote extreme values in the data. For example, notice that 2069 here and 4146 are extreme data outside the general interval that we generally see here. So one way of noting down is this one. So this is another one in ounces. So this is how you can represent the data. Next, let's come to the last one, box and whisker plots. Box and whisker plots are also exclusive for quantitative data. So what is the box and whisker plot? So the common name is box plot. So box plot uses quartiles. So you remember quartiles? Quartiles are Q1, median, median or Q2 and Q3. So if you remember, we also talked about interquartile range in this data when we discussed this. It is Q3 minus Q1. So we make use of Q1, Q3, median and the interquartile range to represent the data. So we used to follow 5 steps. First thing is we represent the variable on the interest on the horizontal axis, and we draw a box in the space between the horizontal axis in such a way that the left end of the box aligns with the first quartile and the right end of the box aligns with the third quartile. And we divide the box into 2 parts and by a vertical line that aligns with the median. So draw a line along the whisker. So whisker represents the edge extreme values, the smallest and the largest measures. So let's take a look at a simple example. Let's say this is the data that we used before. So let's use the same data. So first thing we want to do is we want to find Q1, median, Q3. So Q1 is the 25th percentile, median is the 50th percentile and Q3 is the 75th percentile. So to make it simpler, what we can do is we can also write the formula in general. So one formula is you can write the observation based values. So one way you can do it is, so find NP by 100 for P25. So here there are 20 observations into 25 divided by 100. So 25 ones, 25 fours, 4 ones, 4 fives. So that is 5. So 5 is an integer, which means that P25 here has to be the average of 5th and 6th ordered observation. So what is the 5th observation here? So 5th observation is 27.2 and 27.4. So 27.2 plus 27.4 divided by 2. So that becomes 27.3. So here Q1 is 27.3. Median is 50th percentile, so which is again NP by 100. That is 20 into 50 by 100. So which becomes the 10. So 10 is an integer again. We can find P50. P50 becomes the average of 10th and 11th observation. So 10th observation is 30.7, 11th observation is 31.5. So we have 30.7 plus 31.5 divided by 2. So let's find the value. 30.7 plus 31.5 divided by 2. So that gives you 31.1. So the median is 31.1. Q3 is 75, P75, again NP by 100. 20 into 75 by 100. So 25 threes, 25 fours, 4 ones, 4 fives. So that is 15. So again 15 is an integer, which means P75 becomes the average of 15th and 16th observation. So the 15th observation is 33.3, 16th is 33.6 plus 33.6 divided by 2. So to 33.3 plus 33.6 divided by 2. So that gives you 33.45. So now we have all the values that you need. So Q1 is 27.3. Median or Q2 is 31.1. Q3 is 33.45. So with these data we can now draw the plot. How do you draw the plot? So take the axis, the x-axis. The x-axis represents the values. So the values are here are the GRF measurements, right? So above that, what we generally do is we will first plot the points that we have, Q1, Q3. So let's say for example Q1 is somewhere here. So this is the value 27.3, and let's say that 33.4 is somewhere here. .45 is somewhere here. Now what we can do now is draw a rectangle. So the rectangle is drawn right at the point where 27.3 and 33.45 come through. So draw a rectangle there. So once we draw the rectangle, what you can do now is you can draw the whiskers. Whiskers represent the extreme value. So what is the smallest value here? So the smallest value is 14.6 and the largest value is 44.0. For example, let's say that this is the smallest value in the scale, 14.6, and the largest value is 44.0. So 44.0. So what we can do now is from the box draw a straight line until the edge. So draw a straight line until the edge and draw a small vertical line at the edge. Right? So draw a small vertical line at the edge, and at the end we have to draw the median. So how do you know where the median is? So one way of knowing them is try to find the difference between the values that you have. So 27.3 minus 31.1 gives you about a 3.8 point difference, and you have 33.45 minus 31.1 is a 2.35 difference. So which means that this value is much closer to Q3. So what we can do now is draw a vertical line closer to Q3. So for example, let's say this is the point where we have 31.1. So notice that this represents Q1, this represents Q3, this is the smallest value, this is the largest value, and the midpoint represents the median. So one interesting characteristic of this is that the width of the rectangle actually represents the interquartile range. So the width of the rectangle represents the interquartile range. So this here is an example of a general box plot. So this is an example of a general box plot and how you draw it. So always draw the rectangle between Q1 and Q3. Anything less than that, so the smallest value and the largest value are written at the edge. So draw a small line there. And the median is the point that represents in the mid between Q1 and Q3 based on the median in the problem that you end up with. So this is how you draw the box plot. Right? So I told you that this rectangle represents the interquartile range, and funny part is there is another thing that can be represented here as well. So one other thing that it can represent is that between these 2 points, the entire length of the diagram actually represents the range. So the entire width of the diagram actually represents the range, but the actual representation of the triangle represents the interquartile range. So it represents the interquartile range. Or IQR for short form. So this is an example of the box plot. So M here represents the median. So M here represents the median. So this is another example. So you can try it on your own and see. So in this data you have about 40 observations. So for this try finding the box plot, and in this box plot I want you to find Q1, Q2 or median, Q3, and try to draw the box plot. Right, try to draw the box plot. After you draw the box plot, find IQR and also the range. So find the IQR and the range for this data. So with that, we end the topic of graphical methods, and with that we end the lecture on summaries of data. So I'll see you again in the next lecture.